department in the coming weeks. And if you asked me back when I took this job in 2011, what I thought we'd be working on during my tenure, digital currencies would not have been at the top of the list.
So Ben Losky created this thing called the Bit License, which is New York's attempt to regulate this scary new technology. It's now law, and he has announced that he is leaving government in order to set up his own private consulting firm to help companies navigate financial regulations such as the Bit License that he created. So we essentially had this beautiful new ecosystem being built, and Ben Losky comes by, says, "I'm here to protect consumers." He builds a huge wall around the thing, and then he sits outside the gate charging people to get in. This is the very definition of crony capitalism, and for some reason, Ben Losky doesn't even see anything wrong with that. I think history will not judge him as favorably as he thinks.
So, I've started up my own consulting business. It's been quite interesting, doing a lot of work in the fintech space, but also doing work with a lot of traditional companies in the financial services world as well.
Ben Losky's team at the DFS that was working on this Bit License and the Bitcoin initiative have all ended up leaving the agency and going to consulting firms that are now working on these issues. Danny Alder is going to work for ItBit, and Dana Syracuse is going to work for the consulting firm K2. ItBit is particularly notable because they were the first to find a way to partner with the DFS to get licensed to open their own Bitcoin exchange.
When this is over, I'm definitely going to leave New York when I can. Where I'm going to go, I don't know. I think the Bitcoin community in New York is done with. It doesn't foster innovation. It's too difficult to have a Bitcoin company. No banks will open up accounts. You have the threat of regulation. You have high-profile arrests like myself and others. No one wants to deal with it.
When did you first start digging in on Bitcoin?
2.5 years ago, when I took over the foreign exchange payments business at JP Morgan.
So you probably had your Mt. Gox, BitInstant, your Charlie, and those guys. I mean, it's interesting. Almost none of those guys are around anymore.
2 years ago, at all the major banks, Bitcoin was an afterthought. It was kind of a, maybe in a hallway conversation at the water cooler. And now, even this week, I met with one of the major banks. Everyone's got a Bitcoin specialist, at least one working group, kind of teams of people who are trying to figure out how to incorporate the technology into their existing operation.
Banks and institutions associated with the financial system are really starting to recognize that the payment system underlying banking could be made more efficient by the application of blockchain technologies.
The blockchain technology underlying Bitcoin has become something that a lot of people are now very, very interested in for all kinds of other uses, whether it's allowing for derivatives to be transferred or securities to be transferred or all manner of financial instruments to be transferred in complex, interesting ways. I think different companies are going to adopt different strategies, and it's going to be fascinating to watch companies like Digital Asset Holdings, like Master's Company, doing very, very interesting work.
I didn't become aware of Bitcoin in any meaningful sense until 2014, late in the year. And at the time, my perspective was one of skepticism, I would say, specifically because the storyline that I heard related very much to cryptocurrency as a potential medium of exchange and store of value, which is a valid debate and application, but it doesn't have the full extent of the power that the underlying technology has to achieve.
Blythe Masters is not just any banker. She is this person who I think is really seen as being behind some of the most problematic innovations in the financial industry over the last 3 decades. Blythe is the one who's essentially given credit for creating the credit default swap, which essentially provides a way to bet on the default of a bond. And the credit default swap ended up taking this place at the center of the financial crisis and these bets that banks had made against subprime mortgages.
Blockchain technology eradicates a significant amount of inefficiency in the system and reduces costs. It doesn't mean that we are doing away with the need for trust in financial services at all.
Bitcoin was designed to find a way to circumvent Wall Street, and what Blythe Masters is doing is essentially trying to find ways to bring Wall Street into Bitcoin and make it possible for them to use this technology as well. What the bankers seem to be looking to do at this point is create their own private blockchain where their computers are powering it rather than these anonymous miners. They want control over the system. The banks are looking at this incredibly wide array of ways that they might use this, which include replacing stock exchanges, finding new ways to originate loans, finding new ways to move money between countries. And of course, that's going back to the original idea of Bitcoin, but now it's happening within these financial institutions rather than outside it, as Bitcoin had imagined.
I have no problem with the banking system and the financial industry co-opting Bitcoin, primarily because Bitcoin can't really be co-opted. The fact that it's decentralized means no one can control it, no matter who they are or how much money they have.
I think it's all good for Bitcoin. I think all of the innovation that's happening, both on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley, I think competition will take care of people who want to try to have a monopoly, or who want to try to charge more than they should for whatever product or service that is happening on the blockchain. It really is as advertised. It really is controlled by all the people who are using it, and it really is designed just to be a more efficient, more fair way of sending value over the internet.
Bitcoin is not neutral. You cannot remove the political component that Satoshi implanted in Bitcoin from Bitcoin. It's what a lot of the people on the Wall Street side try to do. You cannot neutralize Bitcoin. It's impossible.
Thankfully, I'm going to go to a comfy federal prison camp without fences, has pool tables and a track and a baseball field and decent food and kind of 100, 200 people that are white collar. Those guys in prison are the best ones to use Bitcoin. They're smart. I'm very excited to talk to them about it.
So yes, the VCs are driving this thing right now. They're pouring money into it. They're building these for-profit companies, people who have a background outside of Bitcoin, seeing the value of it and coming to it. But just because they're doing everything they're doing doesn't mean that the libertarians and the utopians have to go away. Bitcoin is open source. You can do whatever you want with it. So they're still there. They're still building their products. They're still building their vision. And if Bitcoin goes mainstream and if it gets picked up, even if it's running in the background, there are going to be elements of that. And that's kind of what utopian movements always are. The thing that the utopians were dreaming about is not going to happen the way they expected it. But I do think it is going to filter through, and you are going to see it